The night was heavy with silence, only broken by the distant bark of stray dogs. Vine stormed out of her house, angry, tears burning her eyes.
They never let me breathe, always controlling me. I'm not a child anymore, she muttered, kicking a pebble down the empty street.
But as her feet led her into a dark alley, a sharp sound made her freeze. Gunfire, her eyes widened. A man collapsed to the ground, blood pooling beneath him, and standing above the body, holding a smoking gun, was him, the Mafia, JUNGKOOK.
Murder?
The word slipped out before Vine even realized it, slicing through the suffocating silence of the alley. Her own voice betrayed her. Her body went rigid. The metallic scent of blood was thick in the air, the distant echo of a gunshot still ringing in her ears. She hadn't just stumbled into the wrong place, she had witnessed a crime. Her mind screamed run. She spun around, desperate to escape before anyone noticed, but fate was cruel tonight. Her foot caught on a loose cobblestone and she stumbled violently, hitting the ground with a loud thud. Shit! She hissed under her breath, clutching her scrap bombs. The sound was enough. Boots scuffed against the pavement. A hush fell over the gang as every head turned her way. Within seconds, dark figures moved, circling like orbs. Vine's breath hitched. Shadows closed in, hemming her against the brick wall, and then she heard it. Footsteps. Not hurried, not careless, slow, heavy, deliberate. Each step echoed, vibrating through her bones, announcing his arrival before even she saw him. Whoever he wasn't ordinary. He was the kind of man death itself bowed to. Think, Ryan, think, or you're dead. Her eyes darted around, panic clawing at her thought, then instinct kicked in. She lowered her gaze, refusing to meet their eyes. Her trembling hands brushed the ground, pretending to search for something. My cane, she whispered cheekily, her voice just loud enough for them to hear. Why did it fall? Oh no, I lost it. How will I ever find my way home? The man exchanged confused glances, the tension breaking just slightly. Was she blind? But the man approaching, the one whose presence made the air grow colder, wasn't convinced. Jacob stepped into the dim light, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in black that clung to him like a second skin. A gun hung loosely in his hand, still warm from the shot he had fired minutes ago. His jaw was sharp, his expression unreadable, but his eyes, dark, obsidian eyes, glinted with something little. He stopped just in front of her, close enough that she could feel the weight of his stare even without looking. Stop acting, Jacob said finally, his voice smooth yet sharp enough to cut glass. I knew you saw. Her throat went dry, but she forced the words out. I didn't. I swear I didn't see anything. I can't. I'm blind. The corner of his mouth twitched, not into a smile, but into something crueler. Blind? He tilted his head, studying her like a puzzle. Funny. Your heart is racing fast enough to break your ribs. You don't look so blind to me. I was just trying to go home. Vine stammered, hugging herself tightly. I heard a noise and I fell. That's all. I didn't see anyone. I didn't see anything. Jake moved closer, bending down until his face hovered just inches from hers. His breath coasted over her cheek, warm and dangerous. She willed herself not to flinch, not to look, not to give him the satisfaction. Lie down. His tone dropped to a whisper, low and mocking. He brushed a strand of her hair aside, his knuckle grazing her skin with deliberate slowness. Then you won't mind what happens next. The signal was almost imperceptible. Just a flick of his hand, but immediately, Dumal lunged forward, seizing her arms in an anger. No, let me go. Vine threshed violently, her cries echoing down the empty street, her nails scratched against the sleeves, her body twisting like a cornered animal. Please, I'm telling the truth, I can't see. You have to believe me. Her voice cracked with desperation, raw and trembling, but not once did she raise her gaze, not once did she let her eyes betray her. And all the while, Jake just stood there, silent, watching, his eyes sharp and unreadable. Never left her. He was studying her like prey, like a lion caught in her own trap. Or like a puzzle he intended to break. The man's grip on Vine tightened, their fingers brushing her arms as they dragged her down the alley. Her heels scraped against the cracked pavement, her cries muffled by the echo of their laughter. Let me go, please! She screamed, her voice raw with terror, but they didn't listen. The world blurred into darkness as they shoved her into the back of a black car. The doors slammed shut, locking her fate. She sat there trembling, clutching her bag against her chest like it could shield her from the storm she had walked into. Her mind screamed at her to fight, to run, to do something, but her body betrayed her, frozen in fear. Across from her, Chica sat in silence. His gun was gone, but his presence was heavier than the weapon itself. He leaned back in the seat, legs spread gradually, one hand resting on his knee. His dark eyes were fixed on her, unblinking, dissecting every twitch of her body, every nervous breath. The car rumbled forward, carrying her deeper into a nightmare. "You're shaking," he said suddenly, his voice calm, almost conversational. "Scared?" One swallowed hard, her hands clenching tighter on her back. I don't know where you're taking me. Of course I'm scared." He chuckled low, humorless. "Not because you saw me kill a man?" Her pulse spiked, but she forced herself to shake her head. "I told you. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I'm blind." Silence, then a low sharp hum as he feels testing the lie on his tongue. "I hate liars," Jacob said finally, leaning forward into the dim glow of the overhead light. His stare burned into her face, searching, probing. "Do you know what I do to people who lie to me?" Wine's heart pounded painfully in her chest, but she kept her gaze down, her eyes unfocused. "Stay calm, stay blind." "I'm not lying," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The corner of his mouth twitched again, not a smile, something darker. "I didn't see anything. I don't even know who you are," she pleaded, voice cracking. "You will find out very soon," he replied, cold and unblinking. The car stopped. They dragged her out and hauled her into a dark, abandoned place that smelled of damp and old rust. The walls swallowed sound. "Please believe me. I'm telling the truth," Wine begged, desperation raw in her words. Jake's expression didn't change. "Fine. For a moment I'll accept that you didn't see anything," he said slowly. "But I'll make sure this time you see everything very clearly." He gave a sharp signal. Two men disappeared into the shadows and returned dragging someone between them. A man whose body was a map of brutal wounds, as though he had already been beaten close to death. They choked him to the floor in front of Wine. Jake stepped forward, crouched, and grabbed the man by hair, lifting his head so Wine could see the damage. He told her, his voice flat. Wine's stomach dropped. Wait, what is he going to do now? She thought, panic wriggling along her skin. She kept her gaze deliberately unfocused, refusing to let her eyes betray her. Without warning, Jacob produced a gun and fired. The shot cracked through the air. Wine flinched, instinct reflex, but she did not turn to look directly. Blood fountained and darkened the ground. Jacob's voice cut through the ringing silence. "You wanted to know who I am?" He drew closer, the gun now pressed against the side of his own head in a strange, theatrical gesture. "I'm JUNGKOOK, the Mafia King," he said plainly, then cold and casual he added, "You're dead." He rested the barrel near her temple with casual meanness. Wine felt her heart clench, fear right through her. She did not scream, she remained calm, standing as if she truly could not see the weapon aimed at her. Jackie watched her carefully, reading every micro-expression. Her brave stillness entertained him. A dark amusement flickered in his eyes, but belief did not come easily. "Interesting," he murmured. "You won't be taken so easily. Good for you. Because the day I find out you lied to me, that day will be the last day of your life." Wine could only swallow, a small terrified gulp, as the threat settled like ice in her veins. Again, the car finally stopped. She was yanked out and half dragged, half shoved through the enormous iron gates. Her feet stumbled over gravel, the chill of the night biting her skin. And then she saw it, no, felt it. The heavy air, the silence that came with wealth and power, the JEON mansion. Inside, the marble floors echoed with every step. She caught flashes of chandeliers, shadows of men posted along the walls, but she kept her eyes distant, unfocused, as though the beauty of the mansion meant nothing to her. They pushed her into a room, cold, dimly lit. The windows stayed shut, a place not for guests, but for keeping something or someone. J.K. followed them in, dismissing his man with a flick of his hand. The door clicked shut, leaving them alone. He stepped closer, each step delivered, his gaze never leaving her. Wine forced herself not to shrink back, though every muscle in her body screamed too. "Blind people," he said slowly, circling her like a predator. "They live in silence, darkness. They can't see when danger is right in front of them." He stopped just behind her, his breath ghosting against her ear. "So tell me, if I put a knife to your throat, would it still be calm?" Wine's heart stopped. Something cold pressed against her neck. A blade. Her breath trembled, but she didn't flinch. "If you want to kill me, do it. But it won't change the truth. I can't see." Seconds stretched like hours. then a laugh, low, dangerous, amused. He pulled the knife away, stepping in front of her again. Interesting. You don't even shake. She said nothing, hugging herself tighter, playing the part. He tilted his head, curiosity flickered in his eyes. Fine. Let's test your words. He clapped his hands, one sharp. The door opened, and two men entered carrying a tray. They set it down in the middle of the floor and left quickly, the door locking behind them. JK crouched, spreading something across the floor with his gloved hands. When he stood again, my stomach dropped. She could hear the crunch, shreds, broken glass. His gaze darkened. Walk to me, he commanded, standing on the other side of the glittering path. Her mouth went dry. He was testing her. One bit down hard on her lip, then took a step forward. Pain shot up her foot as glass sliced her skin, warm blood pooling instantly. But she didn't stop. She couldn't. If she faltered now, she was dead. Step after step, her feet cut open, leaving a trail of blood. Tears pricked her eyes, spilling down her cheeks. Still, she kept her gaze distant, her breath ragged but controlled. Finally, she collapsed just before him, her knees hitting the floor. JK stared down at her, his expression unreadable. For the first time, something shifted in his gaze. Hesitation, doubt, maybe even belief. Wine trembled, blood dripping onto the pristine floor. Her lips parted. See, I told you I can't see. Otherwise, I would have never walked through that. For a moment, silence. And then JK crouched before her, his gloved hand lifting her chin, his thumb brushed away a tear, his eyes scanning her face with an intensity that made her heart seize. Maybe, he murmured. Maybe you're not lying. Mine barely remembered how JK carried her out of the classroom floor. She only remembered the way his arms felt, firm, unyielding, as he placed her on the couch and ordered a man to fetch bandages. His expression was cold, but his touch, when he tied the cloth around her bleeding feet, was careful, too careful for a man who claimed he didn't care if she lived or died. The bandages tugged at her skin, but she stayed silent, eyes unfocused, still in a row. Strange, he murmured, almost to himself. A lie would have broken long ago. But you? His gaze lifted, burning into her face. You're either telling the truth, or you're the best actress I've ever seen. He leaned closer, his breath brushing her lips. And if it's the second one, you won't survive me. Her heart shuddered violently, but she didn't move, she didn't dare. The following days blurred into a cycle of tests. Every move she made, every word, every flicker of emotion, he watched. One night, she waited until the mansion fell into that brittle, half sleep. The servants would step a long way off, the men dispersed, the corridor softened by night. Her heart was a small furious drum beneath her ribs as she slipped from the room, bare feet soundless on cold marble. Every shadow felt like a hand, every clock tick was a countdown. She moved like a whisper, hugging the walls, breath held in a tight little catches, past portraits with eyes that seemed to fall, past the study where the faint glow of a lamp leaked through curtains. She crept, each step a gamble. The moon draped a pale path across the floor. She breathed with it, waiting for the next gap in the guard's patrol. Freedom was a few turns away. The service door, the hedge, the road. She could already taste the sharp, clean air of outside. Her fingers brushed the heavy iron handle. Then a voice, low, calm, unnervingly close, floated from behind her like cold smoke. One startled, but kept her act. She let her shoulders slump as if disoriented. Her hand dropped from the handle, and she turned slowly with that practiced, unfocused gaze. Oh no, she breathed, voice more trembling. I'm so sorry. I must have taken the wrong turn. I get lost sometimes. Silence settled for the smallest beat. A measured, amused exhale came from behind her. He moved like a shadow, closing, not hurried but inevitable. Up close, she could feel him before she heard him. The faint scrub of his boots, the scent of leather and smoke, the hard presence that made the air taste metallic. JK stepped into the moonlight, his face a dark, dangerous silhouette. He came so close that she felt the heat of him. He didn't touch her. He didn't need to. His voice dropped to a razor whisper. The words hung between them like a verdict. Once thought closed, she could feel the blood rushing in her ears. Her fingers tightened around the handle until her knuckles went white. She swallowed, steadying her voice until it was nothing but fragile. I swear, she whispered, looking past him as though searching the darkness. I don't see. I didn't mean to. Please. He watched her for one long, uprising second. the corner of his mouth barely twitching in something that might have been amusement or hunger. Then, without another word, he turned and walked back down the corridor. The sound of his steps slow and deliberate. The door handle rumbled in her grip. The night felt dangerously thin. She stayed frozen until the last echo of his boots died away, then exhaled, as if she had been holding her breath for hours. Her escape, once a heartbeat away, had vanished like mist. One evening, she stepped out of the shower, damp hair sticking to her skin, steam still clinging to her like a veil. A fresh shirt hung loosely on her frame as she quietly towel-dried her hair. She knew he was there, the faint shift of the air, the weight of his chair pressing against her back. Her pulse raced, but she forced herself to act unbothered, blind, oblivious. She reached for her comb, humming softly under her breath as if she were completely alone. Minutes passed, silence heavy and suffocating. Then, the sound of movement. He stepped closer. She felt his presence at her back, the faintest whisper of heat radiating from him. Then a low voice. Her breath hitched, but she didn't turn. Instead, she gave the faintest nervous laugh. Or maybe it's just the steam from the shower. JK smirked. He didn't reply, but she could feel the smile in the air as he walked out, leaving her knees weak. Another night, she woke to cold metal pressing against her temple. Her eyes shot wide open before she remembered to let them glaze over. JK sat at her bedside, gun in hand, the barrel kissing her skin. Her breath caught. What are you doing? Her lips parted, her voice trembling, but steady enough to sell it. I only know because I can feel it. Silence. His gaze bore into her, searching, peeling back her soul. Then suddenly, he pressed harder, his voice dropping into a growl. Her throat tightened, but she forced a whisper. If you are going to kill me, then kill me. But I won't lie about what I am. For the longest moment, he just stared. The silence felt endless. Then, to her shock, he lowered the gun, setting it on the table beside the bed. His jaw was tight, but there was something else flickering in his eyes now. Something dangerous, something possessive. The mansion became a strange prison. She couldn't leave, but she wasn't treated like a prisoner either. Meals in the grand dining hall, bills delivered to her room, yet always under his watch. And something in him began to shift. He laughed, rarely, but he did, when his man teased her about missing the chair and nearly sitting on the floor. She stuck her tongue playfully, forgetting for a moment she was supposed to be blind. The room erupted in laughter, but JK's sharp eyes caught it. His smirk was slow, dangerous. He didn't call her out, but the weight of his stare told her he had noticed. And then came the night of the final test. JK led her into a dimly lit corridor, his men watching silently from the shadows. The floor ahead glittered faintly, her stomach sank. More glass. But this time, not just shreds, knives, nails, blades. He commanded, his voice low, unaudible. When his breath hitched, she swallowed, stilling herself. Stay calm, stay blind. He was sure this time she wouldn't dare to walk on that after saying all this and drop her act, but to his surprise, she stepped forward, pain lensed to her foot as blood spilled. Another step, another cut, her vision blurred with tears, her knees nearly buckling. His voice cut sharply. In 2 strides, JK was at her side, scooping her up effortlessly. His arms locked around her, carrying her away from the deadly floor. One clutched his shirt, trembling. He smelled of leather, smoke, and something darker, but his hold was steady, protective. He sat her down on the couch, his hands lingering longer than necessary. His eyes searched hers, not with suspicion this time, but something else, something wrong.